My wife said, "You're just a co-parent, not my real match." So I did what I had to do. I'm 36 years old, and this is the story of how I went from being told I was just a co-parent to becoming the primary custodial parent with full control of my life. Buckle up, because this gets wild. Let me paint you a picture of my marriage to Elena. We met in college, got married at 24, had our first kid, Lily, when I was 27, and our son, Jake, came along 2 years later. On paper, we looked like the perfect American family. I had a solid career as a senior operations manager at a tech firm, pulling in around $110,000 a year. Elena had a part-time remote job that brought in maybe $15,000 annually, but she always said she was working on herself and finding her purpose. Here's the thing nobody tells you about modern marriages. Sometimes finding yourself becomes a full-time excuse for not pulling your weight. Elena was deep into this whole self-improvement culture. She'd attend weekend seminars on female empowerment that cost hundreds of dollars. She took online courses about manifestation, crystal healing, and chakra alignment. She started a blog that got maybe 30 views a month, mostly from her mom and her 2 friends. She'd spend hours creating vision boards and posting motivational quotes on social media, while I was handling bath time, homework, dinner prep, bedtime stories. Don't get me wrong, I loved my kids. Being present for them was never a burden. Lily was 9, sharp as a tack, loved reading and soccer. Jake was 7, obsessed with dinosaurs and building things with his hands. They were my world, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel the weight of doing it all while Elena pursued what I can only describe as aggressively unproductive hobbies. My typical day looked like this. Wake up at 6, make breakfast for everyone, pack lunches, get the kids ready for school, drop them off, work a full day, often handling crisis management and team coordination, pick up the kids, help with homework, make dinner, clean up, do bedtime routine, and maybe, if I was lucky, get an hour to myself before passing out around 11. Elena's day? Wake up whenever, maybe do some yoga, work her 4 hours, scroll social media, work on her projects, and occasionally remember to start dinner before I got home. The resentment built slowly, like water filling a bathtub you don't realize is plugged. I'd mention feeling overwhelmed, and she'd tell me I was being negative and not supporting her growth. I'd ask for more help with the kids, and she'd remind me that emotional labor was also work, and she was doing plenty of that. I'd suggest we go to counseling, and she'd say we just needed to communicate better, which apparently meant me listening more to her needs. But I kept it together. I kept being the dependable one, the rock, the person everyone could count on, because that's what you do, right? You show up for your family. Then came March 17th. I remember the date because it was 2 days after our anniversary, which Elena forgot, even though I'd gotten her a gift and made reservations at the Italian place she loved. She'd canceled that morning, saying she had a webinar on unlocking feminine energy that she couldn't miss. I came home that evening after an especially brutal day. A major client had threatened to pull out, I'd spent 3 hours in damage control meetings, and I was exhausted. I walked in to find the house in chaos. Dishes piled in the sink, the kids' homework not done, Jake crying because he'd gotten in trouble at school and nobody had talked to him about it. Elena was in our bedroom on a video call with her empowerment group, laughing and drinking wine. I dealt with everything. Calmed Jake down, helped Lily finish her math problems, made grilled cheese sandwiches for dinner because it was quick, cleaned the kitchen, got everyone settled. By 9:30, the kids were finally in bed, and I was standing in the kitchen, hands braced on the counter, just trying to breathe. Elena came downstairs in her athleisure wear, phone in hand, barely looking up. "Hey, could you order more of that detox tea I like? I'm almost out," she said casually. Something in me snapped, not explosively, not dramatically, just quietly. "Elena, did you notice Jake had a rough day? Did you talk to him at all?" She looked up, slightly annoyed. "I was on an important call. Besides, you handle that stuff better than me anyway." "That stuff? You mean parenting our children?" She sighed, setting down her phone like I was being difficult. "OP, don't start. You know what I mean. You're just naturally better at the day-to-day things. It's your strength." "My strength? Or your excuse?" Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm tired, Elena. I'm tired of being the only one who shows up. I'm tired of coming home to chaos because you're too busy finding yourself to notice your kids need you." "Oh, here we go," she said, crossing her arms. "The martyr routine. You know what your problem is, OP? You can't stand that I'm not just sitting around waiting to serve you. You can't handle that I have my own life and my own goals. Your own goals? You mean your blog that nobody reads? Your online courses that go nowhere? Your empowerment groups where you drink wine and complain about your husband? That's when her face changed, got cold. She stepped closer to me, and I could see this weird mix of anger and something else. Contempt, maybe. You want to know the truth, OP? Her voice was calm, almost clinical. You're not my partner. You haven't been for a long time. You're just a co-parent to me. That's it. That's all you are. The words hit like a physical blow. Just a co-parent. Not her husband, not her lover, not her partner. Just someone she shared parenting duties with. Except I was doing 90% of those duties anyway. I stood there, waiting for her to take it back, to say she didn't mean it, to apologize. But she just looked at me, defiant, like she'd finally said what she'd been thinking for years. Okay, I said quietly. Okay what? Okay, if that's how you see me, then that's what I'll be. Just a co-parent. Nothing more. She rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. But I wasn't being dramatic. Something fundamental broke in that moment. You can't unhear certain things. You can't unknow where you stand with someone. I went upstairs, grabbed a pillow and blanket, and slept in the guest room. That was the last night I slept in our bedroom. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. If I was just a co-parent, fine. I'd be the best damned co-parent she'd ever seen. But everything else, the emotional support, the companionship, the effort to make her happy, that was done. I started implementing what I called my co-parent protocol immediately. I was cordial, but distant. I communicated about the kids, and only the kids. What time they needed to be picked up, who had a doctor's appointment, what permission slips needed signing. Everything else? Silence. Elena noticed immediately. That first morning, she tried to make small talk while I was making the kids breakfast. Did you sleep okay in the guest room? Fine, thank you. OP, come on, don't be like this. I didn't mean... I'm making the kids pancakes. Would you like some? I'm trying to talk to you about last night. And I'm trying to make breakfast. Lily prefers blueberries in hers. Jake likes chocolate chips. I'll be taking them to school today. I saw the frustration flash across her face, but I didn't engage. I finished making breakfast, got the kids ready, and left. When I came home that evening, I made dinner for the kids, helped with homework, did bedtime, and then went to the guest room and closed the door. This became my routine. I was pleasant with Elena when necessary, especially in front of the kids, but there was zero emotional availability. No chatting about our days, no asking how she was feeling, no physical affection, nothing. She was my children's mother and my housemate. That was it. That's all she was. While I maintained this emotional distance, I started making some changes. First, I joined the gym near my office. I'd been meaning to get back in shape for years, and suddenly, I had the motivation. I started going every morning at 5:30 before work, and 3 evenings a week after the kids were in bed. The physical activity helped with the stress, and honestly, it felt good to do something just for me. Second, I reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with. My buddy Derek, who I'd known since high school, was surprised to get my call suggesting we grab beers on a Friday night. I arranged for a babysitter, told Elena I'd be out, and didn't ask for permission or explain myself. Her face was priceless, this mix of confusion and annoyance. You're going out? Tonight? Yes, I'll be back by 11. Emergency numbers are on the fridge. But I thought we could watch that documentary I've been wanting to. I have plans. You'll be fine with the kids for a few hours. I saw Derek and 2 other friends from college, Mike and Jason. Over beers at our old hangout spot, I told them everything. They were supportive, but also brutally honest. Brother, why did you let it get this bad? Derek asked. I don't know, man. I kept thinking if I just did more, was more patient, things would get better. Mike shook his head. That's not how it works. You can't fix a relationship alone. If she checked out, she checked out. So what do I do? Jason, who'd gone through a divorce 3 years prior, leaned forward. You document everything. That's what you do. Every time you're the one handling the kids, every expense you cover, every responsibility you take on, and you talk to a lawyer, like tomorrow. That advice stuck with me. That Monday, I called a family law attorney named Patricia Chen, who came highly recommended. I took a long lunch and met with her at her office downtown. Patricia was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, with a no-nonsense demeanor that I appreciated immediately. I laid out my situation. Married 12 years, 2 kids. I was the primary caregiver. Wife worked part-time and contributed minimally financially and practically. Recent breakdown in marriage. What do you want, OP? She asked directly. I want to make sure my kids are taken care of. I want to protect them through whatever comes next. Do you want to try to save the marriage? I thought about Elena's words. Just a co-parent. No, I don't think I do. Then here's what you need to do. Patricia pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Document everything. I mean everything. Keep a calendar of who does what with the kids. School pickups, drop-offs, doctor appointments, parent-teacher conferences. Keep receipts for expenses you cover. If you're doing the cooking, the homework help, the bedtime routine, write it down. I need you to establish a clear pattern that you're the primary caregiver. Won't that feel, I don't know, calculated? You're protecting your children's stability. If this ends in divorce, and it sounds like it will, you want to make sure they stay primarily with the parent who's been doing the actual parenting. That's you. This isn't about being vindictive. This is about being prepared. She was right. So I started keeping records. I had a notebook where I logged everything. March 19th, woke up kids, made breakfast, packed lunches, school drop-off, picked up from soccer practice and piano, made dinner, homework help, bedtime stories. March 20th, same routine, and on and on. I also opened a separate bank account and started redirecting my direct deposit there. I kept putting the same amount into our joint account to cover household expenses, but I was building my own financial cushion. Patricia had advised this, too. She'd said never leave yourself financially vulnerable. Through all this, Elena was becoming increasingly agitated by my distance. Week 2 of my new approach, she tried a different tactic. She started flirting with me. I came home one evening to find she'd actually made dinner. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and sauce from a jar, but it was something. She'd put on makeup and was wearing a dress I hadn't seen in years. "Hey, you're home," she smiled, coming over like she was going to hug me. I stepped back smoothly, setting down my bag. "Where are the kids?" "They're at my mom's for the night. I thought we could have an evening together. Talk, reconnect." I wasn't aware of any plans. "It's a surprise. I thought it might be nice. We haven't had time alone in forever." I looked at her, this woman I'd spent 12 years with, and felt nothing. No anger anymore, no love, just a vast, empty indifference. "I appreciate the effort, Elena, but I have plans." "Plans? What plans?" "I'm meeting Derek for a workout, and then we're grabbing dinner." Her face fell. "You're choosing your friend over an evening with your wife? You're not my wife, Elena, remember? I'm just your co-parent. Co-parents don't need romantic evenings." I grabbed my gym bag and left. In the rearview mirror, I could see her standing in the doorway, looking stunned. After that, she ramped up her efforts. She started texting me during the day, messages that ranged from funny memes to more serious, "I miss you" type stuff. I responded only to logistics about the kids. She tried initiating physical contact, little touches on my arm or shoulder that I would politely but firmly evade. She suggested date nights, weekend getaways, couples therapy. I declined everything. "OP, you're not even trying," she said one night, after I'd turned down yet another attempt at reconciliation. "Trying? I tried for years, Elena. I tried so hard to make you happy, to be enough for you. And you told me in no uncertain terms that I'm just a co-parent. So that's what I'm being." "I didn't mean it like that. I was frustrated and you said what you really felt. I get it. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done." "You can't just be done. We have a family. We have kids. And I'm being an excellent co-parent to them. That's what you wanted, right?" She started crying, which once would have broken me, would have made me rush to comfort her. Now I just stood there, waiting for her to finish so I could go check on Jake's science project. What I didn't know then was that Elena was panicking for reasons beyond just losing her emotional support system. She'd been talking to her best friend Monica regularly throughout all this, and those conversations were enlightening. I found out about them by complete accident. It was about 6 weeks into my co-parent protocol. I was working from home one afternoon, in my home office with the door closed, on a conference call. I'd muted myself during a boring section when I heard voices in the hallway. Elena was on the phone, clearly thinking I was fully occupied with work. "I don't know what to do, Monica. He's completely shut down. It's like living with a polite stranger." I couldn't hear Monica's response, but Elena continued, her voice getting clearer as she apparently moved closer to my office door. "Of course I didn't mean it. It was supposed to get a reaction from him, you know? He'd been so complacent, taking me for granted, just going through the motions. I thought if I shook things up, if I made him feel like he could lose me, he'd wake up and start appreciating me more. You know, the advice from that relationship podcast we listened to about creating healthy tensions? My blood ran cold. She'd manipulated me, deliberately. That night that broke me, that shattered my trust and love, had been a calculated move to get more attention. But it completely backfired, Elena was saying, her voice frustrated. Instead of fighting for me, he just accepted it. He took me at my word, and now he won't even look at me. I've tried everything, Monica. I've tried being sweet, I've tried being sexy, I've tried apologizing, and he just brushes me off. What if I actually broke something that can't be fixed? What if? The question almost made me laugh. There was no what if about it. She'd taken a sledgehammer to our marriage because she wanted more attention, and now she was shocked that she couldn't just glue the pieces back together. I know. I should probably tell him the truth, Elena continued. But how? How do I say, hey, remember when I said you were just a co-parent? I didn't actually mean that. I was just trying to manipulate you into paying more attention to me. That makes me sound like a terrible person. Yes, Elena, because it does make you a terrible person. I heard her moving away, going downstairs. I sat there in my office, my conference call still droning on in the background, processing what I'd just heard. She'd played games with my emotions. She'd deliberately hurt me as a strategy, and now that it hadn't worked the way she wanted, she was upset about the consequences. That evening, I called Patricia. I'm ready to move forward with divorce proceedings, I told her. Are you certain? Completely. I have something else to tell you, too. I explained what I'd overheard. Patricia was quiet for a moment. OP, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Did you record that conversation? No, I just heard it. That's good. Recording without consent would be problematic legally, but what you heard gives us insight into her mindset and behavior. It demonstrates a pattern of manipulation. Combined with your documentation of being the primary caregiver, this strengthens your case considerably. I just want my kids protected. I want them to have stability. Then let's get started. Patricia filed for divorce on my behalf 3 days later. Elena was served with papers at home on a Thursday afternoon. I wasn't there. I'd made sure to be at work, but she called me immediately, hysterical. What the hell, OP? Divorce papers? You're actually divorcing me? Yes. We didn't even try counseling. You didn't even tell me you were thinking about this. You told me I was just a co-parent. Co-parents don't need to stay married. I explained that I didn't mean it. I was wrong. I made a mistake. You made a calculated manipulation. I heard you, Elena. I heard you telling Monica the whole thing was a strategy to get more attention from me. Silence. Complete silence. You were listening? I was in my office on a call. You were in the hallway. Walls aren't soundproof. OP, please let me explain. There's nothing to explain. You intentionally hurt me to manipulate my behavior. That's not a partnership. That's not love. That's just toxic. But the kids will be fine. Better than fine. They'll have 2 parents who actually show up for them. Well, 1 parent who definitely will, and 1 parent who will hopefully step up now that she has to. The next few months were brutal in their own way. Elena fought the divorce initially. Tried to claim we should do counseling first, that she'd change, that it was all a misunderstanding, but I was done. Patricia was exceptional. She presented the court with my meticulously documented calendar showing I'd handled approximately 85% of all child-rearing responsibilities over the past year. School records showing I was the primary contact, had attended every parent-teacher conference, every school event, medical records with my name as the contact, financial records showing I covered nearly 90% of household expenses. Elena's lawyer tried to argue that she'd been working on her career, that her empowerment work and blog were building towards something. Patricia calmly asked what income that had generated. The answer, approximately $2,000 over 3 years. Total. The judge was not impressed. The custody evaluation was particularly telling, and custody evaluator spent time with both me and the kids. The evaluator's report noted that Lily and Jake had a warm, secure relationship with me, with clear routines and structure. When asked about Mom, they loved her, but noted she was sometimes busy with her computer and forgets stuff sometimes. Elena tried to paint me as controlling, claiming I'd deliberately frozen her out and refused to let her parent. Patricia countered with text messages from before the separation, showing Elena declining to handle parenting duties, choosing her activities over time with the kids. Messages like, "Can you handle dinner tonight? I have a webinar," and "Not feeling the school play tonight, you go," didn't help her case. The financial analysis was equally damning. I earned approximately 7 times what she did. I'd been covering the mortgage, utilities, groceries, kids' activities, everything. Her income barely covered her personal expenses and hobbies. The settlement took about 8 months to finalize. In the end, I got primary physical custody of Lily and Jake. Elena got visitation every other weekend and 1 evening per week. I kept the house, which we'd bought primarily with my income anyway. And here's the kicker that Elena never saw coming. She was ordered to pay child support. Not a huge amount given her income, but the principal nearly destroyed her. $420 per month. The woman who'd called me just a co-parent was now court-ordered to pay me to help support our children. She also had to get a full-time job. The part-time remote thing wasn't cutting it anymore, not when she had to pay child support and cover rent on her new apartment. She ended up taking a position as an administrative assistant at a medical office, making about $35,000 annually. Her empowerment activities, her blog, her self-discovery journey, all of that got shelved because she finally had to face adult responsibilities. The house sale wasn't necessary since I kept it, but we did have to divide other assets. I bought out her share of equity in the house with money from savings. She took her car, I kept mine. We split the retirement accounts according to the court's formula. Elena moved into a 1-bedroom apartment about 20 minutes away. It was a decent enough place, but a far cry from our 4-bedroom house with the big backyard where the kids had grown up. Her visitation weekends started awkwardly. The kids loved her, they did, but they'd grown so accustomed to the routines I'd established that staying at her place felt disjointed to them. "Dad, can we bring the homework schedule to Mom's?" Lily asked before her first overnight visitation. "Of course, honey, whatever makes you comfortable." Jake was more direct. "Mom doesn't know how to make my lunch the right way. Can you show her?" I did. I sent Elena detailed notes on the kids' routines, preferences, dietary restrictions. I wasn't trying to be petty. I genuinely wanted the kids' time with her to be good. They deserved a relationship with their mother, even if that relationship looked different now. But the kids noticed things. They noticed that Mom's apartment didn't have a proper homework space set up. They noticed she often didn't have the right groceries. They noticed she seemed stressed and distracted. After a few months, Lily started asking if we could modify the schedule. "Dad, would it be okay if we only did one night at Mom's instead of the whole weekend sometimes? That's something we'd have to discuss with Mom and maybe bring back to the court if needed." "Why do you ask?" I miss my room and you. And Mom seems happier when she doesn't have to worry about us for a whole weekend." That broke my heart a little. Not for me, but for Elena and what she'd lost. She had a family who loved her, kids who adored her, a partner who would have moved mountains for her, and she gambled it all on a manipulation tactic. Meanwhile, my life was transforming in ways I never expected. With the divorce finalized and primary custody secured, I felt like I could finally breathe. The weight of walking on eggshells, of managing someone else's emotions, of constantly trying to prove my worth was gone. I was still going to the gym regularly and had lost about 30 pounds. I felt stronger, healthier, more energized. My career was thriving too. Without the constant emotional drain of a dysfunctional marriage, I had more mental bandwidth for work. I got promoted to Director of Operations, which came with a significant raise in better hours. The kids were doing great, really great. Their grades improved, they seemed happier and less stressed. Having a stable, predictable environment where they knew exactly what to expect was good for them. We had dinner together every night, talked about our days, did homework together. Weekends were for soccer games, birthday parties, trips to the science museum, hiking, swimming. Normal kid stuff with a present parent. About 14 months after the divorce was finalized, I started dating again. Nothing serious at first, just coffee dates here and there. I was rusty at it, to be honest. 12 years of marriage doesn't exactly keep your dating skills sharp. Then I met Rachel. She was a senior project manager at a different tech company. We met at an industry conference. She was brilliant, funny, genuinely warm, and when I mentioned I had kids, her eyes lit up instead of glazing over. "I love kids," she said. "I'm an elementary school teacher turned corporate, so I've got the patience and organizational skills down." We took things slow. Really slow. We dated for about 6 months before I introduced her to Lily and Jake, and only after talking to them extensively about it first. I wanted to make sure they were comfortable, that they understood this didn't change my love for them or replace their mother. The first meeting was at a park. casual and low pressure. Rachel brought a frisbee and within 20 minutes had both kids laughing and playing. She didn't try too hard. She didn't force anything. Just let the relationship develop naturally. By our third group outing, Jake was asking when we'd see Miss Rachel again. Elena did not take this well. She heard about Rachel from the kids and immediately called me, angry. "You're already bringing women around my children? Rachel and I have been dating for 8 months. I introduced them carefully and appropriately. The kids like her. I don't care if they like her. They have a mother. And you're their mother. Rachel isn't trying to replace you. She's just someone in my life that the kids have met. This is happening too fast. Elena, we've been divorced for almost 2 years. I'm allowed to move on. But I haven't." "What?" "I haven't moved on, OP. I made a terrible mistake and I lost everything. My family, my home, my husband. I see you building this new life and I'm just stuck." For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the manipulation, the years of emotional neglect, the deliberate cruelty of that night she called me just a co-parent. "You made choices, Elena. We all live with our choices. I hope you can find happiness. I really do. But my life and who I include in it isn't your concern anymore beyond how it affects the kids. And Rachel is good for them." She hung up on me. Rachel moved in with us about 6 months after that conversation. The kids were excited, especially Lily, who'd really bonded with her. Rachel brought a different energy to the house, lighter somehow. She was genuinely interested in the kids' lives, would help with homework, came to games and recitals, made the house feel more like a home than it had in years. We got engaged another year after that conversation. Nothing fancy, just a quiet proposal at home after the kids had gone to bed. She said yes, tears in her eyes, and told me she'd never met a man who was such a devoted father. "You're not just a good dad. You're a good man. You show up, you care, you make space for people to be themselves. That's rare." It was everything Elena had never been able to see or value in me. The wedding was small, mostly family and close friends. Lily was a junior bridesmaid, Jake was a ring bearer. They were thrilled to be part of it. We specifically had a family unity ceremony where all 4 of us lit a candle together, symbolizing our blended family. Elena heard about the engagement through the kids and requested to speak with me in person, which was unusual. We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. She looked tired, older. The spark that used to define her seemed dimmed. "Congratulations on your engagement," she said, though her voice was flat. "Thank you. The kids seem really happy." "They are." She stirred her coffee absently. "I messed up, didn't I? Really, truly messed up. Elena, no, let me say this. I spent so much time thinking about what I needed, what I wanted, how I could grow and evolve and become this better version of myself. I was so focused on me that I forgot we were supposed to be a team. I forgot that you needed support too. I forgot that marriage is supposed to be a partnership." "Yeah, you did. That night, when I said you were just a co-parent, I was trying to hurt you. I was angry because I felt like you were going through the motions, like you didn't really see me anymore. I thought if I could shock you, scare you a little, you'd suddenly wake up and fight for me. But I didn't realize you'd stop fighting because I'd given you nothing worth fighting for anymore." It was probably the most self-aware I'd ever heard her be. "I appreciate you saying that," I said. "Genuinely. But it doesn't change anything. I know. I'm not here to try to get you back or anything delusional like that. I can see you're happy, really happy, happier than you ever were with me. And the kids are thriving with you and Rachel. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. I understand what I lost and why I lost it. And I'm sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry. I forgive you, Elena. Not for you, but for me. I can't carry anger around anymore. It's too heavy." She nodded, tears in her eyes. Will you ever tell the kids about why we really got divorced? They'll understand when they're older. Right now, all they need to know is that both their parents love them, even if we're not together. You're a better person than me. I'm just trying to be the best dad I can be. That's all I've ever wanted to be." We finished our coffee and parted ways. I don't harbor ill will toward Elena anymore. I hope she finds her path, figures out what actually makes her happy, builds a life she can be proud of. But that life doesn't include me, and I'm completely at peace with that. As I'm writing this, it's been 2.5 years since the divorce was finalized. Rachel and I have been married for 4 months. Lily is 11 now, thriving in middle school, still playing soccer and talking about maybe becoming a veterinarian. Jake is 9, still obsessed with dinosaurs, and now also coding of all things. He's teaching himself Python from YouTube videos. Elena sees them according to the custody schedule. though the kids have occasionally asked to reduce the time. She's still working her administrative job, though I heard through mutual acquaintances she's starting to date someone. Good for her. Everyone deserves a chance at happiness. My life isn't perfect. There are still hard days, moments where parenting feels overwhelming, times when coordinating schedules feels like a juggling act. But it's real. It's genuine. It's built on a foundation of mutual respect and effort and showing up for each other. Rachel appreciates everything I do, never takes it for granted. When I make dinner, she thanks me. When I help the kids with homework, she tells them how lucky they are to have such a dedicated dad. When I'm tired or stressed, she steps up without being asked. That's what partnership actually looks like. The irony isn't lost on me. Elena's manipulation tactic to get more attention and appreciation ended up costing her a husband who would have given her the world, kids who prioritized time with her, a comfortable life, and her own self-respect, all because she couldn't communicate honestly, couldn't see what she had until it was gone, couldn't value the partnership she'd been taking for granted. Sometimes at night, after the kids are asleep and Rachel and I are having tea on the couch, I think about that moment in the kitchen when Elena said I was just a co-parent. At the time, it felt like the end of the world. Now I see it was a gift. It freed me to see the relationship clearly, to understand my worth, to build the life I deserved. I'm not just a co-parent. I'm a father, a partner, a professional, a friend. I'm someone who shows up, who cares, who builds rather than tears down. And I'm finally with someone who sees that and values it. To anyone reading this who's in a relationship where they feel taken for granted, where their efforts go unnoticed, where they're doing all the heavy lifting while their partner pursues themselves indefinitely, I'll say this: you deserve better. You deserve partnership. You deserve reciprocity. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is stop trying to carry everything alone and walk towards something better. Because being called just a co-parent was the wake-up call I didn't know I needed. And on the other side of that pain is a life where I'm valued, appreciated, and genuinely happy. And that's worth fighting for. Related comments. Dude, I felt this in my soul. Been married 8 years, 2 kids, 5 and 3, and my wife is doing the exact same thing. Working on herself means yoga retreats that cost $2,000, some life coach she talks to 3 times a week, and a business selling essential oils that's lost money every single month for 2 years. Meanwhile, I'm doing drop-offs, pickups, all meals, bedtime, everything. Last month, she forgot our son's birthday. Just completely forgot. I reminded her that morning, and she got mad at me for not putting it on the shared calendar. It was on the shared calendar. She just never checks it. I've been scared to rock the boat because what if I lose my kids? Your post gives me hope that courts actually do look at who's been doing the real parenting. Did your lawyer say anything about how common it is for dads to get primary custody when they can prove they're the main caregiver? Comment. I think there's another side to this story we're not hearing. Yes, Elena messed up with that comment, but it sounds like OP completely checked out emotionally instead of actually communicating. He overheard one phone conversation where she admitted it was a manipulation tactic, which was wrong, but then he immediately went scorched earth. No therapy, no real attempt to work through it, just straight to divorce. Also, the way he describes her interests as aggressively unproductive hobbies rubs me the wrong way. She was trying to build something, even if it wasn't financially successful yet. Plenty of businesses take years to become profitable. He clearly had contempt for her long before that fight happened. You can feel it in every paragraph. This wasn't about one comment. This was about him resenting her for not being the traditional wife he wanted. And before anyone says it, yes, she should have been doing more with the kids, but maybe she was dealing with depression or feeling trapped in the marriage. Sometimes people check out because they're unhappy. Doesn't make it right, but it's not as black and white as OP makes it seem. Comment. The child support thing is poetic justice, honestly. My ex-husband did something similar, told me I was too emotional to handle our daughter's medical decisions. She has type 1 diabetes that I manage flawlessly, then tried to go for full custody, claiming I was unstable. The judge saw right through it. I got primary custody, and he pays me $900 a month and barely shows up for his weekends. Question though, how did your kids handle the transition? Mine was devastated at first, even though her dad was never really present. Kids have this loyalty to both parents, even when one doesn't deserve it. Did Lily and Jake go through that phase of trying to fix things between you and Elena? Comment. Rachel sounds too good to be true, lol. Elementary teacher turned corporate who loves kids, patient, gets along great with your children immediately, moves in smoothly, no drama? Come on, either you're leaving out the rough patches or you're in the honeymoon phase. I'm not trying to be cynical, but I've been dating as a single dad for 3 years and it's rough out there. Most women say they're fine with kids until they realize kids means less spontaneous trips, split attention, and dealing with an ex. I've had 2 relationships end because they didn't realize how much time the kids would take, even though I was upfront about everything. How long did you actually wait before introducing Rachel? You said 6 months of dating, but that feels fast to me. My therapist said minimum a year. Just hoping you didn't jump into something because you wanted to prove to Elena or yourself that you could find better. Comment. Your lawyer played this perfectly. The documentation strategy is exactly what we tell clients to do in contested custody cases. Most people don't realize that courts care way more about established patterns than gender. 20 years ago, sure, moms almost always got primary custody. Now, show me the parent who's been doing the actual work, and that's who's getting the kids. The manipulation admission you overheard probably didn't directly impact the legal case since it wasn't recorded and would be hearsay, but it likely gave you the emotional clarity to move forward decisively. That confidence shows in court. I've seen cases where the primary caregiver parent is so beaten down emotionally that they can't effectively advocate for themselves. One thing I noticed, you mentioned she pays $420 monthly in child support. Given the income disparity you described, $110,000 versus $35,000 and 2 kids, that seems low. Did you waive additional support, or was that just what the state calculator determined? In my state, that situation would typically result in closer to $700 to $800 monthly. Comment. This is hard for me to read as a mom who went through something similar but from Elena's perspective. Not the manipulation part, I would never do that, but the feeling of losing yourself in motherhood and desperately trying to find your identity again. When my kids were young, I was drowning. My husband worked long hours, I was home with 2 under 3, no family nearby to help. I started feeling like I wasn't a person anymore, just mom and wife. I tried to pick up hobbies, take online classes, anything to remember who I was before kids. My husband saw it as me being selfish and not prioritizing the family. We almost got divorced. What saved us was him finally hearing me when I said I needed help, and me hearing him when he said he felt like I had checked out. We went to therapy, redistributed responsibilities, and both made real changes. I guess my question is, did you ever actually tell Elena you were feeling overwhelmed before it got to the breaking point? You mentioned asking for help occasionally, but did you ever sit her down and say, "I'm drowning and I need you to step up significantly or this marriage won't survive"? Because if not, that one comment might have been her wake-up call that she needed, but you'd already decided to leave emotionally. I'm not excusing what she said. That was cruel. But I wonder if both of you stopped really communicating long before that night. Write what you think about this situation. Also, if you like this video, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos. See you next time. Bye-bye.